console version of Rust was released roughly 1 week ago, and in that week, a lot of controllers have been thrown, TVs broken, and beers spilled. Rest in peace, Keystone number 9. Anyways, what I want to talk about today is the state of Rust. I want to review the game as it is and help you guys decide if it is worth your hard-earned cash. So what we're not going to be taking into consideration in this review is any promised updates, any promised fixes, or anything like that. We're taking into consideration the state of the game today. We're not talking about what it was a week ago. We're talking about what it is right now. So let's get into it. First things first, right now in Rust for the console, you're going to be dealing with lag. Every player, no matter what system they have, is experiencing at least a minimal amount of lag, and this lag is coming from servers. You're getting 5 seconds lag where your character basically stops moving for 5 seconds on your screen, but is still persistent in the server. If you're in the middle of a firefight, this results in your head being cleanly blown off. There's no getting around that. You will die to lag because of this issue. And the servers are laggy and the servers are crashing. And again, your character is always persistent, which means in the middle of a firefight, you might decide to lay down and take a nice little nap because the server just kicked you. That is one of the most infuriating experiences in Rust, because the way Rust works is every item you put time in to get. You grind that item out. You put hours and hours and hours into getting resources, farming everything. And then once you've got those resources, you craft that item. When you lose that item, it can be infuriating. You are losing happiness. And if you lose happiness because of lag, it's even worse. So again, you've got to have a little bit of a tolerance for these things. If you're on the new generation of systems, that would be the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, or Xbox Series S, then what I mentioned is probably all you're going to be dealing with. Now, if you're on a PlayStation 4 Pro, an Xbox One X, or an Xbox One S, you are going to be dealing with some additional lag. A lot of this lag is going to happen in the middle of firefights when things get particularly intense around specific areas on the map. These would be called monuments. When you're in these areas, there's a lot more things being drawn, and that means it's a lot more likely to be lagging. From what I've heard, if there's no combat going on, you're going to be running okay, you're going to be seeing everything okay, but if you're in the wrong space at the wrong time and the right guns are being fired or the wrong guns are being fired, you're going to be lagging, and that is going to cause issues with combat. And if one player has a next generation console like we were talking about before and they're not lagging and you are, you're going to get blown away. But for you, there is going to be good news, because if you have a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, you're pretty much lagging anytime you go to a monument, which is a specific area of the map, anytime you go somewhere where someone's planted a few too many pumpkins, I'm not even lying about that, and anytime you get into a firefight that involves any sort of explosions, whether it is a bow and arrow that is on fire or a shotgun to the face, it does not matter. You're going to be getting some lag because of it. So if you can't have anything to do with lag, if lag infuriates you, if you played Skyrim back in 2011 and you hated having it run at 10 FPS, this game probably isn't for you, because you are going to have issues with it, especially if you're on the old consoles. And the older your console, the more issues you're going to be having. So again, this is a choice for you to make based on the information I just gave you. And like I just said, some games can still be fun even if you're having lag issues. Skyrim, 2011 or whenever it came out, I was playing it back then. I was running at like 10 FPS. The game was lagging all over the place. Sometimes I couldn't even figure out where I was going. I had to close my eyes and literally hope I was just going in the right direction. But I still had a great time. I loved the story. I got immersed in it. And what I found with the console version of Rust is, despite its flaws, I'm still having this experience. So since we've gotten past the lag portion, I've given you guys all your warnings, my overall recommendation for this game is it's a buy. It is a fairly good game. I'm very happy with it. And honestly, anytime I find myself dying, even if it's just some complete bullshit, I find myself wanting to get back in. Recently, over this weekend, servers were down for literally like a day. The devs really didn't do much to fix it. I'm probably going to have a whole rant video on that, but I kept wanting to get back into the game. I was spending hours just sitting there at this server screen trying to figure out, do I go into my server? Can I go into another server? And in the end, I couldn't get anywhere. I spent the time doing that because the game was so much fun. And the honest truth is, as sad as it sounds, tomorrow, I'm probably going to do the same thing. It's a complete waste of time. It's completely idiotic, and I still do it because I like the game. Even despite the fact that I'm playing on the Xbox One, the game is lagging. I go into a monument and I lag more than a Windows 95 laptop running Skyrim. It is ridiculous. And I don't know why I'm talking about Skyrim so much. That game is very old, or pretty new, depending on what version you're playing, sadly. But yeah, basically, like, It's so much fun. And if you haven't played it on PC, I played it on PC, it's going to be so much more fun. This game has its flaws. The maps are very small. You're always running into players. There's a lot more PvP than you really want, and you're going to be smoked by a lot of players who are better than you. I'm probably one of those players. I'm not better than you, but I do know a little bit about Rust. So, I know certain things that can just get me farther in the game than a new player, and that results in me killing a lot of them, even though I try to avoid it. But if you come into combat with me, I'm still going to take you out. Anyways, all that being said, and in fact, even with the PvP, there's a lot of PvP where it's going to be 1v10. There's a lot of 10-person, 20-person, 5-person clans that are just smoking solo and duo players. This isn't fair, and this isn't going to be fixed for the next couple months, but again, the game is still a lot of fun, and honestly, if you like that sort of challenge, you can really live up to it and enjoy it, in my opinion. So now, here's where we're at with the state of Rust. I'm going to try and sort of start wrapping this up because I don't want to waste anyone's time. The game itself is a lot of fun. The map is very small, so you're running into a lot of players. It's hard to find sort of your own quiet area to build and role play. If that's your thing, probably wait for community servers. Maybe there's going to be a sale before then, so you might be able to get the game a little bit cheaper than it is right now. When it comes to building, the building sort of feels the same for everybody, but if you're new, it is sort of hard to get started. You're going to be building these structures that aren't as good as some of the more advanced players are building, but still, a lot of other players are doing that right now, and a lot of other players are fairly inexperienced, which means that you're all learning together, and the game is not as sweaty as it is in PC. If you're looking into a Rust version that isn't as sweaty, it isn't as time-intensive, it isn't as stressful, the console version is the way to go. In fact, if you're versing PC versus console and you're looking for a more low-key, sort of relaxed experience, despite the PC having so much more stuff, I'd almost recommend the console version, at least for normal, sort of official servers. In addition to this, when it comes to monuments and things like that, it is lacking. One of these problems with Rust is the monuments. Right now, if you're a starting player, you can go to monuments. This is where you're going to be getting your guns, your ammo, your explosives, pretty much everything like that, unless you want to spend a lot of time grinding. You're going to end up sort of congregating in these specific monuments. Certain monuments are one specific area, basically launch site, is where all the high-level players go, which means there's a lot of high-level player PvP. If you're looking to get to endgame, it is very hard to do it unless you have a Xbox Series X or S console or PS5 and you're very good at PvP. If you don't have both of these things, you're going to run into a lot of troubles getting to that end game. So if end game is the only thing you want to do, again, you might want to hold off or see if you meet the requirements I just mentioned. Before end game, you can go to monuments like Airfield or Sewer Branch, but those are still somewhat high traffic. You can still run them. You can still run Satellite Dish. You can still run Harbor. Some of those monuments don't have as many players, and some of the monuments are more for newbies. There's a lot more new players there. So if you don't mind skipping endgame, you don't mind getting stuck with bow and arrows, you don't mind getting stuck with a revolver or a double-barreled shotgun, it's still a really good experience. It's still a lot of fun. It's always great trying to take on players that are a little bit more experienced than you. But if you're looking for a game that feels fair, if you're looking at something that is going to have you versing people of your skill level, that is very hard to get with Rust, and you're probably not going to get it in this iteration of Rust. Maybe at some point there's going to be servers, but right now those don't exist. Finally, my last thoughts is the game right now, it does feel like a beta game. It doesn't feel like everything's there. The maps are too small. It doesn't quite feel right, and there's a lot of improvements that supposedly are going to be made. Judging it in its current state, if you ask me, is this game worth it? For me, even though I've got an Xbox One, I'm lagging all over the place, I've actually got the game on PC, I'd still say it's worth it. I'd still say it was worth my money. I'd still say I'm happy with my purchase, and I think a lot of people out there are going to be happy with their purchases. From what I've heard, over 50% of players are extremely happy with their purchases. There's about 25 to 30% of players who really hate the game, and then there's that mid-tier player who sort of says, I don't know, I'm just going to hold off. I don't mind the fact that I bought it, but I'm not super ecstatic about the game. I don't know where you're going to fall, and honestly, there's no right or wrong here, right? Maybe the game's not for you, maybe it is for you, but hopefully this video did help you sort of sum that up and figure out what you want to do when it comes to buying Rust. And if you're at all on the fence, remember, if lag, if bugs, and all of that is a big issue for you or a deal breaker for you, you can just wait. You can wait until it goes on sale. You can get the game a little bit cheaper, and then you can enjoy it with the rest of us. But that skill curve is going to keep going up, so you're going to have more of a hump to get over. I'm here to help you with that hump. I've got a ton of videos. You can hit subscribe. You can hit like. I'm going to keep pumping out the Rust videos. So if you're interested, if you're still on the fence, maybe watch a few more of my videos, see the combat, see how the game's playing out, see the different monuments, how they're running, how players' skill levels are, and make the decision from there. But if you like to get into the game at the base level, I'd say this is the time to do it. There's not that many PC players who've jumped over onto the console. There's not that many people that are cheating in the game yet, so you are going to get that true Rust experience. It feels like the game did when it first released on PC, and that is a very good thing. Overall, the community is a lot more positive than you see on PC, and the developers are extremely responsive. I really love this fact, and I really love the fact that overall the game is delivering on what it promised, and where it does fail, they are trying to make up for those failures, whether it's giving out free skins or just sort of extending certain things. The devs are doing their best, and I think they're going to make good on their promises overall. I know I said I wasn't going to rate it based on future performance and future promises, but I've got to just throw that in there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this video did help you make your decision. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything you want to include, feel free to comment down below. There's usually a ton of people scanning through these comments, and honestly, if you're watching the video at this point, I'd recommend looking through the comments if you're on the fence. That is probably going to help you decide, because everybody has a different experience, and hopefully that's going to help you sort of figure out what experience you're going to have. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.